what we're covering today, you're with us here, we're covering Buddha and Christ, and a subject that I think you should all welcome. Look what it's called. Tranquility. I should have a nice little record behind me with birds chirping, you know. Da, 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 da. Tranquility. Let's everybody just be tranquil for a minute. Did you hear? Tranquility. But you know something interesting, because we're covering the 10 worlds of Buddha, in which he taught the 10 aspects of the human mind. And the lowest, of course, was hell. And then the next to lowest was hunger, which is desire. Call it desire. Then there came what? Anger. Anger. And the next one is where we're at now. Excuse me, we missed one. Animal. We did that last time. And now we're at tranquility. You would think that would be higher, wouldn't you? Up the ladder towards the 10, because there's 10. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's right above the animal. So it's not that high from hell, really. You know, it's each. And this is talking about the way your mind works, the way you think of things. I'm doing a very interesting study coming up in a few weeks on our Sunday nights of Carl Jung's teaching on how your mind works and why it does what it does. And it's very interesting, because what Carl Jung teaches, and he's an eminent psychoanalyst, he was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, what he teaches is that energy cannot happen unless there's tension. You have to have tension or you can't have energy. I mean, you know, you've got to have, if you got some sulfur, that's fine, but you've got to have some stone for the sulfur to hit, or you're not going to have a spark and you can't have fire. You get a knife and you get skin, you get blood. Whatever it is, energy cannot come unless there's tension. And Carl Jung taught exactly what goes on inside of all of us, and how when some of those fields of tension get so tremendous and explode, it can cause the energy which was moving upward to suddenly be blocked and start moving downward. You'll see heaven and hell through the words of an eminent psychoanalyst, Carl Jung, and you'll understand. When the energy is flowing upward, you feel good. When it's flowing downward, you get depressed. And it's all energy. And so here, Buddha, long before Carl Jung, by thousands of years, was teaching us about the human mind. You just appreciate this if you don't appreciate anything else. You're learning psychology from a voice that spoke 1,000 years before Jesus was born. And ask yourself, what university did he go to? Where did he learn it? You know, sitting under a tree, so the legend goes. Webster defines this word tranquility as being free from agitation of mind or spirit. Being free from agitation of mind or spirit. Pick up the Bibles, and the little Bibles, go to page 97 in the New Testament, and you'll come to the book of John. Page 97 in the New Testament, and you'll come to the book of John. What is so important here is that you begin to hear things that you've never heard before. In fact, you were never even allowed to consider the word Buddha. That was off limits to you all of your life. No, but you couldn't even mention that word. If you mentioned the word Buddha, everyone, oh my God. Nobody knew that he taught psychology. Nobody knew that he was concerned with how the mind works and where suffering comes from. They didn't allow you to know that, because for the most part, they didn't know that, okay? So let's take a look at John, and what is Buddha, and what is Webster is saying that tranquility is being free from agitation of mind or spirit. And Jesus Christ says in John chapter 8 and verse 31, if you continue in my word, that means if you do what I tell you to do. And Jesus told people to seek within themselves and meditate. He says, you are my disciples. Verse 32, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Free from what? Free from exactly what Buddha was talking about and exactly what Webster defines it, free from the agitation of the mind and spirit. Those things which produce an agitation within inside of you, which when you are sick will cause your sickness to get worse, which when you are troubled will cause your position at home, your family, your children to get worse. And you don't even have a bit of control over those things other than to give that cooling period through meditation where you can allow those to simmer down. Tranquility, according to Buddha, is actually a state in which the peace or the inactivity of the moment allows that energy, which is topsy-turvy, to start to find its way, cool itself, and redirect itself back. See? Because that's exactly what Carl Jung teaches. Carl Jung teaches that all of a sudden, when there's an obstacle to the flow of energy upward, everything starts going all over the place. It starts going this way, that way, that way, that way, that way, that way, that way. It's going all over the place, and you're in a turmoil. And you'll say, I don't know where I'm coming or going. I don't know what I'm doing. And you have nothing to do about it. You cannot do anything about it. There is a need, then, to get into a place of inactivity where then this energy can be allowed to just find its way, dissipate, and find its way back to the center and flow back upwards to the kingdom. It's all electromagnetic fields. It all has to do with the workings, the inner workings of your psyche. And Buddha teaches that tranquility is the basic state of humanness. He said, this is being human. Being tranquil is being human. And Buddha explained that when people are in conflict, they do not display their humanness, but quite the opposite. They display their animal nature. Big difference. Big difference. In other words, this is just happening. And you don't know why it's happening. And you don't know why you're screaming. And you don't know why you're feeling the way you do. And you don't know why all the tension and the stress. But you're just consumed with it. That's animal. You don't have, but when you get to this point, you're allowing this, you're making this happen, and you are bringing yourself back to your human condition. Because why? What does he mean by that? You are a human being. You have a choice. You can make a decision. You can shut this off. See? And that's through meditation. That's why the Buddhist monks sit and for long hours they'll go, oh, and it's a tremendous art, you know. I mean, they do it for hours and hours and hours because what they're doing, they are shutting down the animal nature and allowing what? The humanness to flow from them. And that's what Buddha taught. Now, Jesus Christ describes this state of tranquility. He describes this state of humanness in the same way that Buddha was trying to teach it, in the same way that Krishna taught it. You know what Krishna taught us Friday night? It was very interesting in the Bhagavad Gita. You become a saint when you understand the action in inaction and the inaction in action. That was the whole thing. He said that's when you become a saint, when you understand the action in inaction. In other words, what Krishna was saying, when you understand what it is important for you to do is nothing, you'll then understand that that is the action that must happen. When you are in inaction, when you are in meditation, that's action. That's why Jesus says, why do you call me Lord and not do what I tell you to do? That's action. And then he said, when you understand the inaction in action, which means that when you do act, you'll understand that that is coming from inaction. In other words, what I'm doing is as a result of my meditation. You understand that my actions are as a result of my inaction. And when you've got that down, and when you understand that, you'll be a saint. Because that's exactly what life is based on. Realizing I must get to meditation so that the things I do will not be as a result of this, but as a result of that. Okay? And these things are borne out, as I said, by the tremendous teachings of Carl Jung. And we will be sharing with those in a few Sundays. But Jesus talked about it on page 104 in your New Testament in the book of John. You're in John right now, so you don't have to go too far. John chapter 14. And how did Jesus, here's Buddha, here's Krishna talking about inaction and action, and here's Buddha talking about tranquility and rising to the point of humanness. And how did Jesus Christ talk about it? Jesus Christ said this in John 14 and verse 27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives, give I unto you. In other words, religion has no idea what this is about. Nobody knows what this is about. It's not of the outside, it's of the inside. And how did Jesus say you arrive at this peace? The very next line, let not your heart be troubled. neither let it be afraid. What's the key word there? The key word is not trouble. The key word is not hard. The key word is not afraid. The key word is let. Stop it. Turn it off. Flip the switch. Meditate. Om, da. There you go. Say, you stop it. It's going to do it. It's going to trouble you. It's going to cause you to fear. Tensions are going to roar within you because it's a movement of the universe. And they're going to go this way and they're going to go that way. And as Carl Jung says, you've got to stop it and allow this energy to dissipate and find its pathway back to the channel that lifts it upward. As Buddha says, you've got to get out of the world of animal into the world of tranquility. And as Jesus says, let not your heart be troubled. Don't let it be afraid. It is of its own nature troubled. It is of its own nature afraid, but don't let it be. Stop it. Take no thought. So then Jesus states that the state of tranquility that comes from Christ consciousness will give us authority over anxiety. And anxiety is what makes you sick. Anxiety, tension, and stress are the basis of sickness. What is sickness? Dis-ease. Dis-ease. In other words, something is wrong. There's out of sync. There's a lack of harmony. It's out of harmony, so it's dis-ease. See? Meditation so then becomes a vital part of your life force if you're going to stay well and if you're going to be able to function well in the societies and within your family. And so then we understand that Buddha is saying that is humanness. Why? Because sometimes you can't stop the flow. You can't stop the tension. You can't stop the anger. You can't stop the stress. It happens. So then you've got to intervene, and you've got to bring it to the humanness where you exercise your humanness to meditate and shut it off. When you exercise your humanness and meditate and shut it off, then you are moving yourself into that point that Jesus talked about, Buddha talked about, Krishna talked about. What happens? If you're calm, meditative, you become more peaceable, you become more loving, you become more kind to others, and you set up a healing process for yourself. And that's what I'm sure Dr. Siegel and the rest are trying to get through to people. It's very, very important. Just as we sit here now, if everybody is quiet and calm, it's a lot different than if we were all standing up throwing chairs at one another, you know, or finding fault, or screaming at one another. Do you see what Dave was sharing with us and teaching us this morning about Judge Thomas and about Anita Hill? My God. I mean, you talk about tension? What do you think is happening inside of that man and his system, his bodily system? If he isn't stricken with some kind of a disease, it's a miracle. And her too, and all the rest of them, because it's bizarre. Not only are they being accused, and maybe he did, maybe he's been caught. Maybe he didn't. But whatever, who knows? These are things coming one person at another person. And it sets up hell. It creates hell. What did he say? He'd rather have a bullet. The man is actually, where is he living? Right here. Hell. Regardless. He's in hell. And what happened? One day, Mr. Bush, the President of the United States, brought this man and said, I am going to nominate you to be a Supreme Court Justice of the United States Supreme Court. I'm in heaven. Now where is he? He's in hell. Just like that. Where? Don't you see? What happens to you? What happens to me? It's exactly the same thing. Because you live in the midst of all of this accusation. Maybe you're not getting accused of Anita Hill, but maybe you're getting accused by your wife or your husband or your children or somebody next door or your job or your boss or somebody. Somebody might be accusing you of something. Maybe you didn't do it, maybe you did. Buddha states that tranquility, or what we call the peace of Christ, that passes understanding, has an effect on your personality and your physical activity. In other words, what are you here to do? You're here to understand that, because you can't correct it if you don't understand it. That's the most critical thing as a disciple of Jesus Christ. Go to page 40 in the New Testament, book of Mark. You're in John now. Go to Mark. Page 40 in the New Testament. Look at Mark chapter 7. And this is what Jesus Christ constantly dealt with people who hung around him. And he didn't have too much patience with it. And he was very concerned about it. And if you look at Mark 7 and chapter 7, verse 18, he says, he's talking about eating and how food, whether you eat or don't eat has nothing to do with spirituality. But I just want you to look at the first sentence. He's talking to his disciples. Are you so without understanding also? He's talking to people following him. He says, I expect those people out there not to understand, but I don't expect you not to understand. And this is what the whole thing's about. You have got to understand what the reality of spirit is, what the reality of your body is, the chemical makeup. You call it spirit. Invisible spirit. What is it? It's electromagnetic fields that go racing through your body in all different directions. And if you bring them in harmony, it's the Holy Spirit. If they're out of harmony, it's the devil. It's what it is. Nothing more than that. Nothing less than that. If you find it and you got him in harmony, God is in you. If you don't, the devil's in you. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have a spiritual, holy outside and all of this rampaging inside of you. Because you won't be able to do it. You'll be throwing things and kicking things and swearing at people, and then you'll come in here. And you'll sit. And on the outside, you'll be tranquility. And you'll stare at me, and you'll even smile at me. But inside there will be hell. And you know it. And that's the way it is, isn't it? Doggone right's the way it is. And Shakyamuni Buddha says that this peace will cause you to be intelligent. It'll cause you to have wisdom. It'll cause you to be able to distinguish between truth and falsehood. It'll cause you to be able to attain enlightenment. That's what Jesus says. Why? Because you're not thinking with the energies flying in all different patterns within you. There's no confusion inside of you. When you go into meditation, everything comes to the center. All of the confusion stops. So then your mind, you're able to think, I know what I'll do. This is what I'll do. But you're not thinking from here anymore. You're thinking from here. You're not thinking from the basement. You're thinking from the upper room. That's what it all is about. The whole thing is about you stopping, allowing all of the physical and the electrical confusion inside of you to dissipate, and so it settles. Your mind is then clear. Then you can think, and you'll know what to do. You'll know what to do about a job. You'll know what to do about your illness. You'll know what to do about your family. You'll know what to do about your home, your business, whatever it is. You'll know what to do because you've shut down the confusion inside of you. And you're not thinking from chaos anymore. You're thinking from rationality that comes from what we call God, which is the activation of the right side, which only happens when you allow peace and the energies to dissipate into that which is peace. Look at what Jesus said. Page 71. You're in Mark, go to Luke. Page 71, Luke chapter 11. He's talking to Bible teachers. But this is the point. And this is exactly what Krishna was teaching. It's what Buddha was teaching. It's what Jesus Christ is teaching. It's what Carl Jung shared. And most of Carl Jung's works nobody can understand. I have spent a lot of hours, and I've been studying and pulling apart and going to the Bible, and I'll be able to give you 40 minutes or something of Carl Jung that you'll be able to understand about how you work, and you'll have a much better idea of why you do the things you do and why you feel the way you do. And you can't talk about this guy being some kind of a nut because he's premier psychoanalyst of the world, along with Sigmund Freud. He split with Sigmund Freud because Carl Jung said there is something more in the human psyche and the human mind that is not human. There is something superior to the human that I have found in the human mind. And Sigmund Freud says, get out of here, you're one of these New Age freaks, fakakta, get out of here. Now, that was nothing wrong with Sigmund Freud. God needed that. Sigmund Freud had to concentrate totally on saying, no, I am looking for that which is human, but Carl Jung had found something which transcended human in the mind. So that's why it's very important and to listen to him. But what does Jesus say about understanding? Luke 11, verse 52, he says, what you have done, woe to you lawyers, people who tell other people what to do. You have taken away the key of knowledge. You haven't entered within yourself. And others that are trying to enter in, you hindered. I mean, how clear does it have to be? These are the things that you'll find in that booklet that you'll get. People have to answer that. And churches are not encouraging people to enter within themselves. And Jesus Christ says, you're hindering these people from understanding what the universe is, understanding why they feel the way they do, understanding why they feel sick, understanding why they feel all of these things. You're not letting them go within themselves to get the answer. You have to encourage people to understand these things. So then the world of tranquility that Shakyamuni Buddha taught you allows sound judgment and wisdom, and that comes from meditation. And you will either fail or succeed depending on reaching that level. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 5th world of the 10 worlds that Buddha said rage inside of your head. In tranquility, or you can call it meditation, you're able to tap into this wisdom, and then you're able to, more or less, through godliness, able to judge the outcome of the action. So the Buddha says the tranquility allows you to be human, allows your humanness to come through. And Shakyamuni Buddha taught that in the world of tranquility, you're generally in control of your lower life. Okay? In that state, you're not easily roused. You know, people can't freak you out. It's like with the animal. Remember what Shakyamuni Buddha said about the animal? You know what the trouble with the animal is? An animal is predictable because it acts on its instincts. You can set a trap for an animal, and I'm sure an animal could talk to you about it and tell you he's been in the woods a long time and he knows it. He knows what's going to happen. He knows how nature is going to work. He knows how an animal is going to react. You can set a trap and you can catch that animal. And that's what Buddha says is dangerous for you, because what people can do is they know what turns you on and they know what turns you off, and they can set and they can get you. They can get you just by knowing exactly how you're going to react, and Buddha says that's extremely dangerous. So, what about a person who has that exterior that, you know, is not given to rage? What do you call them? They're the personality that is outwardly tranquil, but inwardly he's planning the destruction of another person. Do you know what they call him? They call him a cold, calculating killer. You ever see them in the Godfather movies? They walk in, the guy's got a black hat on. Hey. Are you enjoying the lasagna? Yeah. Vito sends his compliments. Boom! He turns around and walks out. One night, Joan and I were down in Nashville, Tennessee, and we were with some friends of ours. We were in this real nice restaurant, and I was in a mood that night, you know. That was the night I glued my tooth to the, I glued the, that was funny. I used to have this artificial tooth. Well, it didn't grow in. I just have a, you know, the professional. But I used to have one of these plates, you know, and the tooth would come off, and I always carried super glue with me. Never went anywhere without super glue. So I'm in there, you know, we're getting ready to leave. I said, I gotta do this. Put the super glue on the thing, got it back on, put the tooth in, looked nice, got everything, and then I found that I had glued the spoon to the table. There was no way. Everything was there. The waitress was going to come, clear off the table. She was not going to get that spoon. No way. So we all just left, and I covered it over with a napkin, and out we went. That spoon is probably still on that table. But when I walked up to the, in order to do a little joke, you know, this guy, he was always embarrassed, like a lot of you get embarrassed with me if you're out in public. I like to do this. I like to see what happens when the establishment, you know, doesn't know what to say. And I walked up to the lady who was taking the name. Well, you can't do that. You got to get up. You're just on television.
Yeah, but you have to do the story right. It was in the daytime.
It was in the daytime.
And we were on Music Row. And this man had his own record company.
Yes.
And artists and other people that had record companies were in this restaurant, okay? So he was very well known.
Yes.
Okay, now you can...
So, I mean, I thought I'd embarrass him, you know, because if you're with me, then, yeah. So I walked up to the lady taking the thing, and she says, would you? I said, table for 4 for Vito Corleone. She says, what's the name? Vito Corleone. Okay. And then the guy's like, oh, my God, you know. And here he is with all his friends looking, and it said, table for 4 for Mr. Vito Corleone, please. He's kind of walking. He said, it's not, he's kidding around, you know. But we did that. So anyhow, a cold, calculating killer is one who gives the appearance of being tranquil. I see you. Who gives the appearance of being tranquil, but inside, all hell is breaking loose, isn't it? So what is that then? The tranquil state simply is a mask to cover the hell, the desire, the anger, and the animal. It's a mask. It's different. But those who can, come into the name of Christ, you get people who really are trying to lead you to God. They are totally believing that they're doing this. And they're leading you into this chaos and hell and confusion, not intentionally trying to hurt anybody. They're not doing it intentionally to hurt anybody. But, you know, it's the same thing. They've never dealt. They don't know that which roars inside of them, see? And what does it say in 2 Corinthians 11:14? That can happen. And it says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. It doesn't mean that there's some kind of a thing that comes around. It just means that that's the way we get. Because when we don't plug in, we are taking from the lower, which is evil. We think it's right, and we do it, and it's all hell breaks loose. And then you'll say, oh my God, I don't know why I ever did that. So it's a thought, and you acted at a time when your inner being was in chaos, and you didn't know it. All of the energy was floating in different directions. So you say, well, how is this possible? When we're cold and calculating, see, then what we want to hear is we want to hear the thoughts that come from our lower minds. You ever get cold? I just don't. When I sulk, I get cold and calculating. I do. It is. It's hard to believe, but when I sulk, I get cold and calculating. I mean, I plan, you know, just to do things that, you know, are going to burn you up. That's the way it is. And don't look at me like, oh, my God, because that's what you do. You know, you look, you know, Joan will say to me, I can always tell when your mouth gets that way. You know, it curls up at the end, you know. It's not doing anything. It does it. But then you're in a mood, and whatever you say is going to be just what I needed to really freak me out and make me mad. And you too, right? Just what you need. When you are like that, no matter what anybody says, that's just what you needed. If they say it's nice, it is not. And if they say it's not, you'll say, can't you ever say something nice? Whatever way it is, you're ready to zing. Okay? You're cold, calculating, and you look very tranquil on the outside. Don't you, Mary? But what about the average person who's not plotting to do somebody in? Tranquility allows you to enter into a world of humanness and to function in love. You seen when somebody bumps into you and gives you a dirty look? Huh? Or how about this? You know, did you ever do this? You know, you're trying, and you know you're trying to make a turn at the intersection, and you don't know you don't know whether to go or not to go or turn, and but then you shoot, and you're almost banging into some guy, and he gives it to you, right? And he's yelling at you and calling you filthy names, and he sticks his hand up in a very ungentlemanly manner, and off you go. And he's freaking out, and he's screaming at you. And you can see him as he's riding down the street, he's still yelling at you. And all you did, you know, what do you say? This is what happens. Well, that person has a strong tendency to the world of anger, obviously, and he's only 2 steps from hell because you made a left turn. What did you have to do? This guy might have been very tranquil. He wasn't really. See? Everything inside of him was going like Carl Jung said. It's going this way, and the other way. But he's driving along, and he's listening to some music. He needed something to blow him out. And you or me came up, and we made our left turn. Quite innocently. We're on our way to church. Or we're taking Aunt Nellie to the hospital. We're doing a good deed. You know, you went over to the neighbor next door. You're taking their sick dog to the veterinarian. And you almost wrecked this guy's car. Now he's sticking a finger at you and all of these things. And you've blown him completely out of his head. Because this is where he was anyhow. Okay. But, you know, meditation, because you may have been in meditation, and if you're in a tranquil state, you're able to, you're able to control yourself. And so he then takes a step really towards disease, and you're able to control yourself and keep out of it. And then as you begin to learn this, you understand the 7 chakras, and you understand about the 10 worlds, and you understand how you go from one heavenly situation into that which is a hellish situation. What about a negative of tranquility? Talking about the benefits of tranquility. And there's a lot of benefits to it. But why isn't it higher then? Look, I mean, there's 5 more worlds up here that lead up to Christ consciousness or Buddhahood. This isn't very high. You know, and why didn't he make it? Why didn't Buddha say, you know, hell, desire, anger, animal, tranquility? You would figure tranquility would be over here, much higher. Shakyamuni Buddha says, one who stays too long in this condition becomes vulnerable to all sorts of negative influences. And that's why he didn't put it too high. It's not that good a place. It's okay for a little bit to get things under control, but be careful of it. Because what happens, you get so neutral for so long a period of time that the energies dissipate. And there's not enough energy in the life force in tranquility to overcome the negativities that come from anger or desire or the animal, and they will overwhelm you here. So he did not put that up. He considered it good only for a little bit of time, but not good for too long a period of time because it would be dangerous. So being tranquil is fine. Being peaceful is fine. But it can't be your total world. Now, this is where you look at it. Look in the Bible on page 49 in your New Testament in the book of Mark, okay? Mark chapter 13. Mark chapter 13. And look what Jesus Christ said. And look why, you'll see, as soon as you see Jesus' words, you'll understand why Buddha put tranquility not that high up on the ladder. This is what Jesus Christ said to you. In Mark chapter 13, and verse 37. And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. You can be so tranquil, you can get lulled into a very false sense of security. You can be so tranquil, you can borderline fall asleep. That's the world of tranquility. And in the world of tranquility, this is why Buddha did this. I don't know if you can see this or not. Buddha said that in the world of tranquility, there is often, and if not all the time, a need to bring in the world of animal. Very important. And this is why he said that. Do you ever watch sometimes these discovery movies on television, nature films from Africa, and you'll see an animal and very, very quiet, very, very tranquil. Everything is nice. The sun is on the Serengeti plain, and then all of a sudden you see a head go up. And the heads are looking all over. Then you see another head go up. And bang! All of a sudden, chaos. Thousands of them start running. And one who was so tranquilized by the moment, you see next standing in the grip of a lion. Got him by the neck. Buddha said, be careful. Be careful you don't get too tranquil. Because what does it say in the Bible? The lion roams, roaring, looking for him whom he will devour. Be careful. Whether it be religion, whether it be the system, whether it be your friends, whether it be yourself, be careful. And that's why Jesus Christ said, what I say to you, I say to all. Watch. Those animals on the plains who are being alert and watching will live. Those who become so tranquil that they are just consumed in their relaxation will be controlled, and they'll die. So, let's wrap it up then by looking at an Old Testament scripture, and then we'll go. This is the last one, page 686 in your Old Testament, and the rest of you go to the book of Ezekiel. Isn't this amazing to listen to the teachings of the operations of the human mind from a man who lived 1,000 years before Jesus and learned this by sitting under a tree? And is it as contemporary today as it was 4,000 years ago when he taught it? And the amazing part of this is who is telling you to stay away from this man? The ones who are setting the trap. It's the people who are sneaking up on you and who want to control you and take you to the zoo who want you to stay away from the man who's saying, watch out. Don't get too comfortable. Because there's a lot of lions lurking in the bushes. And they want nothing more to take you. And that's what Jesus said. You got to watch. You got to be into meditation, and you've got to be very alert. That's why on Tuesday nights, and the last couple of Tuesday nights, there hasn't been too many here, and it's been powerful. tremendously powerful because people were not here fooling around. People were not here sleeping. People were here working at this. And I think you'll testify to that. When people are here working at it, a hardcore comes. It becomes very powerful, and good things happen. Okay? But look at this, and then we'll go. Ezekiel chapter 12, page 686 in your Old Testament. Ezekiel chapter 12. Did you learn from Shakyamuni Buddha today? But see, if you go out of here and you'll go up down the street to a church somewhere, and a Christian or whomever will say, what did he teach? He taught about Buddha. Oh, they'll be sure you were into some hellish, horrible stuff, won't they? They don't realize that you were teaching or you were listening to God instruct you about your mind, about your peace, about your health, about the tranquility for your family and for your children, and how to be on guard about what goes on within you and what goes on without you. This is how the Bible puts it. In Ezekiel 12, in verse 18, it says, Son of man, that's you, eat your bread, okay? That means even when you are tuned to God to be alert, eat it with quaking. Eat it with quaking. Eat your bread with quaking. Don't be lulled into this religious euphoria. Don't be lulled into the spiritual euphoria. You've got something to do. You've got to take this. You've got to be alert. You've got to watch within yourself. You've got to watch without yourself. And it also says here, drink your water with tremblings and carefulness. In other words, be tense when necessary, that you're not lulled into a state of sleep. Eat your bread with quaking. Tend to your spiritual needs, but be trembling, be alert, and drink your water. In other words, take that which is inside of you with tremblings and carefulness. Always be alert, always be on watch, always be on guard. And that's what goes on inside of you. How do you know what's creeping up on you? How do you know what disease? Unless you're checking inside of you, how do you know? You're just letting it go. You're just letting whatever happens, happen. And the Bible and Krishna and Buddha and Jesus Christ says you can't do that. You've got to watch inside of yourself. You've got to check inside of yourself. You've got to allow yourself to direct your energies inside. You're directing your energies at your family. You're directing your energies at your job. You're directing your energies at anybody in sight. But you're not directing your energies at yourself inside. And so it's going unchecked. And as Carl Jung says, it's going crazy. It's raising hell inside of you. You don't know what's going on. And it's killing you, and it's making bad things happen. And so you got to turn around, and you got to look, and you got to be alert, and you got to be watchful so that it is able to bring itself into the center and rechannel it back up to the higher place so that you're alert also for that which comes from the outside. Because it'll grab you. And remember something, when that animal in the plain is not alert, all of a sudden the lion, and there's no way out of it. There's no second chance. It's over. Quick. Watch. Those words aren't in the Bible by Jesus Christ to write a book. He said, what I said to you, I say to everybody. He's talking about everybody in the universe. Watch, watch, watch. And watch is an Eastern expression that means meditate, meditate, meditate. Watch. Be on the alert, inside and outside. When you think there's all that peace and strife, the lion strikes. And Buddha puts it all in perspective. And he says that the most satisfying sleep that you have comes after one has made a great effort. After the sleep is over, then you want to be active again. And Buddha teaches that this is a part of the fundamental rhythm of life. Live fully and creatively. And if you're active in living and creating through meditation of Christ consciousness, then you dwell in that state of tranquility. But only for that amount of time necessary for the energy to be rechanneled, then go, then function again, move again. As Isaiah said, they that wait upon the Lord shall what? Renew their strength. He was talking in Jungian language. He was saying when you wait in meditation, the energies which have dissipated in all cockeyed places will then come back to the center. you will renew your strength, and the energy which is going crazy will start to channel itself backward up to the Father's house. They will mount up with wings as eagles, and when that happens, you will then be able to move and not be weary. You shall not faint. You shall have conviction. You shall have power. You shall have totally that which you call God. You and me should get on our knees somewhere and apologize to God. You talk about bad-mouthing Judge Thomas. How have we bad-mouthed Shakyamuni, Buddha? You talk about giving a man that tried to help the world a bad rap. That man lived his life for only one purpose, to be able to show you how to be happy and how to overcome. And he is considered a cult and every other evil thing by these people who know him not. Thank you for sharing this time.